Welcome to Chats con Sabor. I'm here with my lovely hosts,
Hi.
Yvette and Linda.
And she's Joanna.
Or Jojo.
Or Jojo, whichever one you want to call me.
Want to call her. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
I wanted to start off by saying that we are trying different areas of my little small place here, our little recording studio. So if you see different backgrounds or where we're sitting and stuff, we're just trying different things out. Okay, guys. So just bear with us. I know we've asked you to bear with us for everything, basically. Thank you for all of your feedback as well, good and bad. There's actually hasn't been any bad feedback. There is no. Thank you for all your feedback. Thank you. But just know that, we are working on a lot of different things, technical stuff and all that jazz. We are going to talk about unsolicited advice. So we posted something yesterday and asked for viewer engagement for you guys to give us your dilemmas and stuff. And so we're going to kind of tackle that and some other items as well. But I'm going to pass it over to you, Miss Linda.
All right. So I think today we want to focus on two of the requests or solicited, unsolicited advice. So I'll go ahead and I'll put them up really quick. And this is the first one. First of all, thank you for listening.
Yes.
So it says, having been officially single for over 2 years and had some traumatic experience with sexual abuse, SA, right? Now being a caregiver full time, I find it hard to put myself out there. I've thought of going on apps for the casual hookups, but even that gives me anxiety. I can't meet somebody organically, and it's like a horror movie to try and be on an app. I don't know how to get my feet wet again, and I'm just so scared to go back to all situationships just to be disappointed again sexually.
She did say that sexually.
Yeah. I worry I'll be so comfortable in my solitude I'll never get back on the horse. And then the last question is, how much time alone is okay to be alone for?
It's a good question.
Yeah, that is a very good question, situation, scenario, whatever you want, dilemma.
Yeah. Now, because I do know her, I would like to specify that when she says caregiver, she's not talking about she's a mom. She's taking care of somebody that's, terminally ill. So it's consuming her time.
Right.
For the most part.
Right. I'd like to start off only because I've been there, done that, as far as pulling myself. And I've never been a victim of sexual abuse. And I hate to use the word victim. That's why I hesitated, but I haven't experienced that. But putting myself in a situation where I removed myself from men in general and just really got to know myself. For me, I felt like, and I've been saying this in all of our episodes, I feel that it really helped to solidify who I am as a person, helped me to really get to know myself. I've said that fairly often. I feel like I'm repeating myself so often now, but in my opinion, and they might see it differently, I think it's okay. No matter what length of time you keep yourself away just so that you can heal and you can focus on yourself. I think that it doesn't matter. I went 7 years and I didn't set out to not have any relationships for 7 years. It started with an old bad relationship. It turned out bad. And then I just stayed away and I didn't talk to anybody for like a month, and then a month turned into a year and a year turned into 7. So I don't think there should be a time limit on your healing process, is I guess what I'm saying. Whatever time you feel you need, then you should take that, I will say that sometimes it works to your detriment because like you, in your message, you stated that you're kind of worried that you're going to get too comfortable being alone. You do. I mean, I went 7 years and I got super comfortable being alone. And so now it's just going to take that extra special person to come into my life and for me to actually open up my life and share a life with. So at this point, I can tell you right now, even though I've been on the dating scene for a year, or a little over a year now, but at this point, I don't even see myself yet actually sharing like a life with somebody. I see myself dating and like, doing that, but living life with somebody again,
Like under the same roof.
yeah, sharing my bed like day in, day out, like have him come and, or me go and, take over his, because I would, or his closet at least.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't even see that right now. Like,
Wow.
So it's kind of crazy. So I feel your dilemma. Like I feel it because I sort of have been living it, So what do you think?
I definitely think she should take her time.
Mm-hmm.
Get to know yourself, especially with being someone who has gone through SA. You should definitely have some therapy, understand that it was not your fault, and learn all those tools that you need to learn to get over that. I think that has a lot to do with not being satisfied in certain departments. So it's really important to know who you are as a woman, and as stay by yourself for as long as you can, but also don't shut yourself off of meeting and getting to know people. I know online dating sucks because I've done it too, but also you can find things, hobbies, whatever you're into that you can go and do, and maybe you will meet somebody organically. But don't cut things out because you're scared. You have to put your fear behind you and move forward. That's my advice. Is we're all scared, but as women, I think we let our fear consume us, and then we hesitate, and then we try to convince ourselves that we're okay being alone.
Yeah.
That's such a
So
good point.
That is a good point, because a lot of that comes from, like you said, trauma. And then we do convince ourselves that I don't need anybody. You build up such thick walls to just protect yourself. And yeah, so that's great advice. Great advice.
Well, I think I agree with you, ladies, about the healing time, especially given the fact that you're so busy right now. There's no freaking way that you're gonna convince me that you're having the time to heal. You're too worried taking care of somebody else,
Yep.
and then working a full-time job and whatever else life is throwing at you. So yeah, take your time to heal. But at the same time, I think, especially in my generation, right, we have this whole thing of, okay, well, if I stay alone, I can just have a booty call, right? I can just have somebody on standby to take care of my needs whenever I need to, but without the commitment, without. But in my opinion, after you go through SA, it's kind of hard to just see sex as just sex,
Right.
because it's always going to trigger something. So,
especially if it's transactional. Especially because it's going to feel forced.
Correct.
It's going to feel, like you said, very triggering.
Correct.
For her, especially. Yeah.
So in my opinion, I think you should, number one, get to know yourself, and number two, once you're ready, you have realized, okay, I think I'm ready to step out of my comfort zone because I've had the time with myself first. Don't be afraid to say no. Don't be afraid to say this is not working. Don't force it. I think a common theme actually with the next unsolicited advice, it's basically hinting on that. Like, as women, we have put ourselves, we want to push ourselves to men almost. Not everybody, but I mean, I remember growing up, girls chasing their boyfriends and going to their house and show up, and or if they were cheating, then now you're scraping doors, all these different things. And it's like this obsession. It's like, no.
Slashing tires.
Slashing tires. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, no. If whoever you meet is not hitting the key boxes, and especially after SA, they have to make you feel safe. from day one. It's like, oh no, we're gonna build up to that. No, they have to be in my brain, right? Like they have to be a gentleman. They have to have their own boundaries and on check, so then they can take care of your own boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't feel guilty for wanting that at all. You deserve that. So that would be my advice to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all want companionship. It's just sometimes we go in the wrong direction to seek it. And then because we're so alone, we're okay with people's bad habits. And those are all the red flags that we should be like, absolutely not. So, I mean, it's all in the person too and what they want to deal with. And we've had this conversation and not deal with, and how long we want to deal with it and not deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so know and learn yourself. Take the time to go and have some therapy to learn how you can cope with certain things with SA. I mean, that is huge. And give yourself grace too. You have such a busy schedule, busy life, that you're not taking any time for yourself. You know, there's things in your head that you want, but you can't do them when you're like pounding everything down and not dealing with it. And then you have the busy life on top of it. So you're not dealing with things. So if you go into a relationship, everything that you have here and that you put down here is going to spill into that relationship.
Yes.
And then your insecurities are going to come out, and then your jealousy is going to come out. So just make sure that you're good when you go into something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Don't let those insecurities show, or come and get the best of you.
And I think that is super important to use or to focus on when you're taking the time to be by yourself, because you're not pouring into somebody else, into another person in the relationship, and you're not worried about getting to know him, or you're not worried about getting to know that person. You're only worried about your own emotions, feelings, wants, desires, boundaries, what you're willing to overlook, what you're not, your limitations. And we've had this conversation before where it's like everybody has their own limit to what they can handle and what they'll put up with. And I can tell you from experience that in the 7 years that I took to get to know myself, I realized right away, that I'm not willing to put up with anybody's bullshit anymore. We talk about this in other episodes, but I'm kind of circling back to it because I can't put up with bare minimum effort anymore. And there's definitely a lot of red flags that I feel we as women in general, we overlook, or we think, well, he's doing this, so it's okay not, that he's not doing this because I'm getting this from him. No, you should get everything that you need and want from him, because if you're not, then you're making excuses and you're accepting and being with him as a potential. But soon, when we've discussed this before, soon you realize what the reality is, and he is not living up to that standard, to whatever your standards are. So taking the time to get to know yourself and what your needs and wants are, and then setting the boundaries and then, coming back and keeping them, I think is going to be super important for her, especially during the healing process, as far as, trying to let go of what's happened in the past, the traumatic things that you've been through, and really letting them go, and not, like you said, not taking them forward into another relationship. Because I love that you said that, like just sweeping things under the rug, that's not going to help you heal at all.
No, it's going to make your relationship toxic too. So
not just that, but it's as much as you pretend you could be hiding it or sweeping it under the rug, you never truly are, so they're always going to explode, and probably in the wrong time most of the time. And it's going to influence everything that you do. And
how you react to different things.
So and I go into like the whole psychological and physically, and then we're worried about, why we're getting panic attacks, why are we getting this, why we're getting, because we're not dealing with our issues. We're just boiling them on in, and
they start feeling our emotions. They start coming out little by little
in other ways.
Until they get to the point that you just erupt.
So I think that, I mean, you know, never mind. I thought I lost my train of thought. Wow, this
That
is
quick?
happening again. Just like last night.
Wow.
I literally had a brain fart. Like
Maybe it's the
just
wine.
I
It
am
will
not
never be
stopping it.
alcohol. I will protest that day.
There will never not be any alcohol.
I will be in assisted living. I'll be like, "Where's my wine bottle?"
So funny. Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't. I really like. It really is gone. Like it's not even like a squirrel that. It's just like poof.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Anyway,
that was number one.
yes, yes. Wishing you all the very best.
Yes,
in your healing
hugs,
journey.
and we're here if you need us.
Yes.
Call your tias.
Cringe.
Inside joke. I'm sorry, guys.
Eventually, we'll come out.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so here's the other request. Now, in all reality, it's way too long. Okay, so I'm not going to
Just summarize it.
yeah.
summarize.
So I'm gonna try to summarize it, but it's her words, so I want to read a little bit of the story. So it says, I have a situationship that I need advice on. And she says, first of all, I'm the only girl he follows on Instagram. Right? That's one note. And then she proceeds to tell a little bit of the background story. Like I said, too long, but I'll bring one comment that I think is relevant. She says, I've been undelivered since the 8th, but I know that he sees my messages. I've even tried FaceTiming him. Now, we aren't really toxic, but his actions really confuse me.
I need to buy us red flags so we can all wave them.
Oh, true. Okay.
Oh, that would be good.
So here's a comment.
And
It
a green
seems,
flag.
Yeah.
it seems like I'm the only girl he's focused on, but his actions make me overthink.
So much.
Right,
So much.
right.
At least she's not super naive. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes. He said that him and his ex broke up about a week before we started talking, and that he wasn't ready for anything serious, which I was very understanding.
You might want to cut the eye roll.
What?
I got like a twitch all of a sudden. My eyes went.
Not for her, but the line.
story.
Yeah.
The line.
Yeah. So fast forward maybe 2 weeks after that happened, he came to visit me. Mind you, he lives over 40 minutes away, so he's coming
From far away.
from far away to come visit her.
Okay.
And then she goes and describes the date that they had, and then it says, and after our trip, we got back to his car and we got intimate. Okay. Since then, he texts me only once. And now he has not replied anything to me. Now it's been over multiple days, and I even double text him, and he's still not replying. I don't like having no contact because I really do like him. I know I should wait for his text, but honestly, ... So, now the reason why I bring this up, it is a young listener. Obviously, the comment of I'm the only girl he follows on Instagram. But I think it was relevant because I feel like I've seen a lot of this even on, maybe not 50 or 40, but I've seen it on 20s, I've seen it on 30s, where I'm sorry, listener, but I feel like girls are delusional. They like, if you hear the story, I think anybody would be like you said, red flag, red flag.
Mm-hmm.
But as women,
when it's happening to us, we're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what I was saying to the first listener. Like, we make excuses. Mm-hmm. Well, he's doing this, and he
came so far.
Yeah,
he came so far to see me.
No, you should have not talked to him from the get-go but I was saying, at least she's not super naive because his actions are making her think.
Yes.
So good. That's a good thing. You should be thinking like something's wrong here, because there is something wrong.
There's something wrong. She's breaking it, processing it in her head, but she's still making the excuses. And that's where she needs to stop.
Well, yes, but that takes time and experience and maturity. And she is a young listener. So, I mean, unfortunately, you are going to learn a lot from this experience. Or fortunately, I think, maybe.
Yeah.
You know?
With us viejitas.
With your tías.
Las tías.
Las viejitas. Las tías.
La abuelitas, whatever you want to call us. That's fine.
I think I like tías better. Even though we are grandmas.
For real, we are grandmas.
Did you just remember?
Well, you know what it is? I feel like
Thanks to
usually I'm usually the grandma among people my age. It's not really common. So for me to be with grandmas, it's not really common for me, I guess. So it took me by surprise.
So we're grandmoms that are smoking.
That's right. But going back to the listener, I think it really comes down to yourself. You know, knowing your value and understanding who you are. Kind of like what we're saying to the first listener, first advice. Because unless you know that you're beautiful, that you're worthy, that somebody should come 40 minutes to see you if they really like you. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's 40 minutes. If they love
bare
you,
minimum.
Yeah. You better come see me because you want me, right? Like like you said, that's basic.
Yeah. That's basic.
That's basic
Definitely,
needs. I guess you want to see me, come see me.
Yeah.
Don't expect me to go see you. You're a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You're the male. You come to see me. You want me? Come see me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a safety thing too.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
that too.
As a girl, yeah. I mean, well,
very,
as a young girl, yeah. Well, anybody, yeah.
Yeah. Very, very true. But if I had to give you a bottom line, I'll say number one, like you said, his actions are speaking. So drop that right away, because from the get-go, everything that you shared, everything says he doesn't want you. Mm-hmm. He's not taking you seriously. He's, everything is going from bad to worse, and it's true, it can only get better from here, but you don't need to settle for that.
Exactly. Yep. If he wanted to, he will.
And that's true.
We learned that famous line from someone.
If he wanted to, he would. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the advice that we gave to our first listener kind of can be repeated here in a different way. I mean, obviously she's going through a different experience, but get to know yourself. You're young. Get to know who you are first as a person, as a young lady.
Now, what does that look like? What is that?
I can only tell you what it looked like for me.
Okay, and that's fair.
And I can't make this a general, blanket statement, because what worked for me may not work for somebody
Correct,
else,
and that's very important to know. But the reason why I ask is because, especially myself, I feel like I could have a lot of like good one-liners or like things that you're like, man, that makes sense. But when it comes to being practical, okay,
or putting it into action,
following through,
correct. It's like some people could be like, okay, but sounds pretty. But how do I apply it to my life?
Yeah.
So that's why I asked, maybe.
Yeah. So for me, I started reading a lot. I started meditating a lot. I mean, I was always an avid reader, but I started reading more and different types of material, feeding my brain, focusing on myself instead of asking like, oh, in this situation, what am I doing wrong? Why doesn't he want me? Why isn't he coming to me? Like, you're not doing anything wrong. He's the one that's doing something wrong by leading you on. So opening your eyes to that. You know what can I do for myself to better myself? Maybe I need to exercise more. Maybe I need to less screen time, not stalk his Instagram. And the fact that you know that you're the only female that he follows is kind of like,
why would you know that?
Why would you know that? I don't go around looking at people's like, who are they following? That's just obsessive behavior. And you're obsessing over something that is out of your control, because what if in the next day or 10 hours, he starts following 5 other girls? I mean, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. That doesn't diminish who you are, though, as a person. So really focusing every situation, every question, every thought that you have that's outside of you, focusing it inward. And then getting to know yourself. What do I like to do? What are your passions? Are you into art? Are you into, I don't know, physical fitness? Are you into going into restaurants by yourself? Like that I'll tell you that I struggle with that because when I go to restaurants, I can't go to restaurants by myself because I go to socialize. So how am I socializing by myself? I will go to a restaurant by myself. I can. Like, it's not that I'm insecure about it or whatever, but I sit there and I'm like, well, I have nobody to talk to, and I don't want to be sitting in a restaurant looking at my phone. Why am I there then? I can cook something at home and just couch.
I'm not gonna lie, after my separation, to me that was the biggest accomplishment, I guess. That's what I'm going for. With the moment that I realized that I was okay going to a restaurant and sitting by myself and not be on the phone. Like, yeah, maybe sometimes scrolling a little bit, but I'm actually there just enjoying looking around. The moment that I walked into the restaurant or the bar and I sat down and those questions were not racing in my head, that's when I realized I'm like, okay, I'm in a much healthier place.
Yeah, definitely. Because now at that point, you're not looking at things outside of you anymore. We create stories in our minds.
Yes, we do.
Create, and that actually creates a reality. So when you overthink and your thoughts are always outside of you and worried about things that are happening, that could be happening to you, then your perspective is wrong. Then you're literally outside of yourself. You're so focused on everything outside of you, of this guy. How come he came one time to see me? He drove 40 minutes to see me, and now he hasn't anymore. Who cares? Okay, he came. You got a good experience. Hopefully it was good. Let it go. Let it go. Stop obsessing over it. You are worth more than that. More than one experience or one lousy experience. And honestly, if you think about it, maybe it wasn't that great. And so why are you obsessing over somebody who just was like mediocre? He was just like, he was okay, you know? Yeah, easier said than done, but it takes practice and work. So the inner work, I would say.
This conversation is making me twitch. I'm like literally fidget spinning my phone. Since you guys said what you need to say, I want to say something.
Go ahead. I have everything to say, but I'll let you go.
When your gut tells you that something is wrong and you have to analyze what it is by X, Y, Z, A, B, C, it doesn't matter what it is. You had your answer with all the questions that you asked us. So that in itself is your gut telling you that this is not good and it's not good for you. The obsession and that you're going through right now with you're putting so much energy to something that's not even real. And you're putting so much energy into something that is never going to become anything real. So you need to pick up, go do what you need to do, love on yourself as hard as it is, because it sounds like the rejection of him is what's making you obsessed over him. And rejection is not a good thing for you at the moment, because you're looking at his social media. You think that that's his only account too, because he might have another account. He just gave you that one specifically because he knows that you look at it all the time, you know, or he knows that he can message you on that one. So his girlfriend doesn't know about it. Especially when someone's just getting out of a relationship too. Like he wasn't truthful with you. That in itself, when someone's out of a relationship 1 week, 2 weeks, there's still a connection there. The person is communicating with the other person, period, point blank. It's happening. And
feelings don't just disappear.
They don't. And I'm sure they were together for a while or whatever. But my advice to you is listen to your gut. You already gave yourself the answers that you needed with the questions that you had.
Yeah.
Right now, your obsession is the fact that he is rejecting you. And that's what he's doing, is rejecting you by not responding to you, by leaving you on red. It doesn't matter what excuse he comes back with. The fact of the matter is you're not his person. And you have to accept that and you have to move on.
Yep.
And talking about being practical on the advice that we're giving, right? I think you hit a very important point, and it's that the rejection is what's hurting you the most.
Mm-hmm.
Start there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, journal, think through like that whole meditation thing. Why is the rejection hurting you so much?
Mm-hmm.
Why is this a problem? And trust me, if you actually do the work, you're gonna realize where it comes from. The rejection is rooted to something that is more painful and is more triggering, and that's what you're trying to take control.
Mm-hmm.
But given the fact that it's a young listener, I like to note that, in my opinion, right, when you get intimate with somebody, right, and you're literally becoming one, right,
Yes.
and when you're young, your body's still naturally looking for that becoming one. It's with experience that we learn to kind of compartmentalize and have what they call empty sex or just transactional sex. Or so at this point in life, you still have that, and you have to understand that in all reality you're exchanging energy, so you're uniting yourself literally with another person.
Mm-hmm.
And that separation, it does something to us emotionally, mentally, and you're gonna have to go through a process where you have to think to yourself and literally let go, like visualize it, do whatever you have to do, and cut ties with that person. It's gonna be it's not gonna be easy to just, oh, let me block him. It's because now at this point they have created a wound in you.
Mm-hmm.
It has triggered you, quite frankly, for whatever reason. And until you don't deal with that, you're probably going to continue repeating the same patterns of feeling rejected and, oh my God, what happened? And again and again and again, because you haven't learned to really be with yourself and dealt with that.
And sex is not love.
Oh,
It is not always love.
Mm-hmm.
Especially young children, young kids, teenage kids, whatever age they are, need to understand that just because you're infatuated with somebody doesn't mean that you're in love with them. Mm-hmm. And there's a difference. And a lot of younger kids connect sex with love, and that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of young teenage boys are out here. They're having sex because they want to have sex. Mm-hmm. They're not having sex with you because they love you.
Oh my God, such a good point. So boys, especially like in those high school, college years, they're hormonal. All they're trying to do is satisfy their need. Girls, even though our hormones want that, in all reality, we're seeking the connection.
Yeah,
not like men or boys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the girls that you maybe know that are already at a young age, in their teens, 20s, even 30s, even our age.
Yep. Oh yeah, big time on our age.
Those females that you know that can actually have transactional sex with no feeling attached to it, they're just using
sex
almost like
rare.
It's very being rare. Like a man, you know, mm-hmm. having those same thoughts and stuff. They're actually suppressing a lot of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they're doing. But the reality is, and I agree with you 1000%, that we are always looking for connection, because as human beings, that's what we do. That's how we interact with each other. We're even men need connection. Mm-hmm. Some of them don't know it, or they don't realize it until they're well into their 30s and 40s and 50s. And sometimes they don't ever realize it because they don't grow emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. They just kind of keep that little boy, that their little boy is wounded, and they don't know how to fix it.
Yeah. And I like to note that even though we keep on saying young, there's women out here under 30s,
that's why I said
30s, 40s, and 50s that they're obsessing over a guy. So I don't want you to think that it's like, oh man, I'm young and stupid. No, there's women out here that they have not learned this. They have not had their self-time of healing, of realization, their awakening per se of who they are. And they're crazy old ladies.
Well, it's true, because some women don't awaken themselves until their 40s. You know, I mean, sometimes it takes forever. Mm-hmm. It's all in who you are and how you work on yourself and who you are as a person to get you to where you need to be. And right now, and you're young, enjoy your life, have fun, enjoy school, enjoy friends, and then worry about all the other stuff later.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Trust me, there'll be a lot more experience.
Oh my God, that pool is big, girl.
I want you to know that all of a sudden you college years hit, and all of a sudden everybody likes you. all of a sudden you're hot. Like, because it happened to me. I was in high school and I never felt like I was pretty. You know, like you knew those girls in school that all the boys were drooling over. You know, I was never that girl. But then I hit college years, and all of a sudden I could be like, I could pick. I could say
that's probably because you were having sex at that point. That happens, and that awakening happens when you start
energy.
having sex. You're putting out a different energy, so they're picking up on that. It's pheromones. It's energy. It's
because I didn't have sex in high school.
Yes. That's
some guys find it a challenge in high school that you haven't had sex. They want to be your first.
Everybody.
Yeah, even when I was in college.
I don't know why. Like, listen, when we're virgins, we have no fucking clue what we're doing.
You know what?
None whatsoever.
That has to be one of our questions when we have our next male guest.
Yeah. Why? What's the obsession?
What's the obsession with bopping the chair? Like I get that it's tight, but
no, I'm gonna guess that it's about conquering. All men. Now we've discussed this before. Men need a challenge.
Yep.
They need to rise to the occasion, right? Like quite literally rise to the occasion. But honestly, it took me a second. Yeah. So, but I think it's the conquering. Like, yeah, I hit that because I mean, are they really gonna stay with that woman or girl? No, 9 times out of 10, they don't stay with them.
Can I tell you a quick story of my friend in high school? She dated this guy for like over a year. This guy, he was bad, and I could probably tell that throughout that year and a half they were together, he was probably doing somebody else because she wasn't giving it up. Her senior year, early senior year, she gave it up, and within a month he broke up with her.
Yeah.
After waiting a year and a half, after a month, and then she did not take it well.
Before I move on, we want to extend to this listener our hearts and good luck to you in your healing journey and your growing journey. You have a lot of life to live.
So much life.
Yeah. There's going to be good men and bad men in your life.
Part of
Just getting started. Okay. What do we do and what to do when your significant other is either avoidant or narcissistic and plays off of your traumas and your weaknesses? So what do you guys think?
I think that, again, in order for you to see it, you have to be in a healthy place.
State of mind.
In a healthy state of mind. Because I was in a situation like that for a very long time. And I think what makes it more crazy for me, I guess mentally, but it didn't make sense in my head, is because we think it's going to be a consistent rejection, or maybe in some cases it is, consistent rejection, a consistent of this. And in all reality, at least in my life, it was a little bit of rejection, a little bit of this, a little manipulation. So I was never able, I couldn't see all the red flags because there were only a little bit of here and a little bit of there. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that much. So personally, I don't have a good answer to you because in that moment, because I was not in a healthy state of mind, I wasn't able to, I guess, stop it or say, hey, what's happening here? You shouldn't do that to me. Or, I let it happen. I honestly did. I let it happen.
And you were gaslit, probably. Too.
Yes.
Like that's what.
Yes. I was definitely gaslit. I'm making it up. Oh, you're being too much. You're overreacting.
Yeah.
Oh, it wasn't that bad.
That's the famous line. You're crazy. That's not what I said. That's not what I meant.
Well, that's how you took it, but that's not how I meant it.
Yeah.
We've talked about it before on the show and off show.
It's amazing when you have that awakening and you see
what's been happening,
what has been happening. Like with me, it took look, I am a proponent of therapy and I've been in therapy for a long time. So just to see, like with my marriage, the eye-opening things I didn't want to see, but I ended up seeing, and having the courage to actually stand up and say, this is not good. This is not good for me. This is obviously not good for you. So we really have to just make a decision to part ways.
Yeah.
It was every time I would find something, it was in my head. That's not happening. And I'm like, so eventually I started believing that even sometimes now, like when I say something and someone looks at me or doesn't understand what I'm saying, and then I try to clarify it again, and they're like, so I'm like, is it me or is it them? Am I not clear enough? What's going on? So sometimes I question myself too.
Mm-hmm.
I know I have my problems with my ADHD and stuff, but at the same time, when I'm locked in, I'm locked in. And and Linda and I were actually joking about this earlier, I'm a very pattern oriented person. So when that pattern breaks, guess what? I'm on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that pattern breaks. So I know that there's something going on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not stupid. If anything, I'm very intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was a long 15 years of marriage.
I will say this: in my own life, it got to a point where I stopped checking for things because I was losing my mind. I'm like, I'm not gonna check Facebook. I'm not gonna check your phone. I'm not gonna check. I'm done. I'm over it. Because when I do, then I'm crazy. Then I'm losing my mind.
Well, with me, I was married to someone in law enforcement. So as careful as they tried to be with things, and then they would try twisting thing, it got to the point that the twisting wasn't working anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I saw what I saw.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if I saw you on that phone at 12 o'clock at night and you're not doing work,
Mm-hmm.
you're on that phone with somebody else at 12:30 at night. And I'm peeking through, your phone's ringing, it's somebody else, someone's sending you text messages. I don't have to have the phone on your hand. I can see it.
Yeah.
So like when it got to the point that things were being twisted, like, no, I'm going to do my homework and I'm going to present the receipts.
Mm-hmm.
Now who's crazy?
Yeah.
To me, it becomes a fight. It becomes a battle. You're not going to say XYZ about me and make me look like I'm an idiot. It's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's like about manipulation and narcissism. Now, I have. Well, you gather your thoughts.
Yeah.
I have, and maybe this is my own naiveness, right? Or I've been gaslighted for so long that I'm still believing the bullshit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they actually do it on purpose, or do you think that's their reality and they don't even know they're being such assholes?
Both.
mm-hmm.
Both. They literally believe they're bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're such good manipulators and good liars, because they believe their own bullshit. They believe their own lies. They believe their own perception of their own reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they also know how to pick and choose, how to dig for your weaknesses and poke at those until you break, and they find a hole, and then they just dig and dig and dig until they fucking break you. They try anyway, right?
Yeah.
Because he couldn't, because I saw through his bullshit. I've always been able to see through that. Now, I stayed in the relationship for my own reasons, but I've told you girls this story before. The minute I hit 34, I was like, I don't know. Somebody hit me a bit, in the back of my head and was like, wake up. Remember who the fuck you are.
Mm-hmm.
And we are super, super strong, incredible beings.
Mm-hmm.
By we, I mean women.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking specifically to women. I'm not male bashing whatsoever. But no man will ever be able to bring life into this world. I don't give a shit what the media says about men getting pregnant and whatever. That's a transgender woman. That's what that is.
Yeah.
It's not a man.
Yeah.
Men were not built that way. They were not built with those reproductive organs to bring life. They help us to create life,
Mm-hmm.
but we are the ones who bring life into this world. Mm-hmm. We're the ones who take care of them in our bodies. Our body is a vessel for life to come through.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a miracle in and of itself. We are super, super powerful beings, and we don't realize that. Some women realize it, and then they use it to their own advantage, and they take advantage of men. So I understand that piece. But when we're dealing with men who are trying to manipulate us into downgrading us and like trying to break us, you have to reach deep and realize and remember just how powerful we actually are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think with my ex, it was my weakness. My weakness was our family.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's where he would poke a hole in it.
Yep.
Because I knew that the boys were important to him too, But when it came to the other females in our relationship, and I know a lot of people are probably going to hate this, that they're hearing this about him specifically, and some people never knew and some people did know. But I think I said it on a podcast before, his thing was the excitement of mind fucking people.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't just mind fuck people, but he mind fucked his wife all the time. And he knew how much I loved him and how much I respected our marriage and all that. And he played on that because he didn't think I was going to go anywhere until I was done.
Yeah.
So,
and let me clarify, it wasn't that I never was hurt by him. You know what I mean? Because I was hurt too. I mean, but I think that also helped to remind me of who I was and just how freaking powerful I was. You know, my 20s were not that fun. I went through a lot of bullshit with him, physically, mentally, verbally, emotionally, all that. And I stuck around for my own reasons, like I said, but sometimes it's out of our control. And we don't realize it until we are done, until we reach that point. And again, what I was saying to our listener, everybody has their limit. Once you reach that limit, that's it. And I don't care what kind of woman you are. You could be, you know, one of those women who are physically abused every day. And one day, either he's gone because she's lost her mind, or she leaves. And 9 times out of 10 is the woman leaving, you know.
She leaves or she's gone.
Or she's gone. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, that happens, you know. All I'm saying is that they didn't have the wherewithal and the strength, enough strength to pull themselves.
Listen, that was me for many years. And I had a lot of things that played against me, I guess. And one of those things was I didn't have family support. You know, my mom is back home. My sister, you know, in that time, she was also back home. And then all I had was my dad. But then when I left my dad's house, it was rough. I'll never forget leaving the house and my stepmom telling me, "Don't worry about it. You'll be right back." And then I looked and I'm like, I'm never going to come back. And in all reality, that made me be stuck in that relationship probably longer than I should have, because when I was mentally ready, I was like, where am I going to go? And I have a kid and I don't have a car. And I'm drowning, but what do I do? Okay, I guess I'm just going to keep on breathing with a little straw, and I'll stay here for a little, you know,
a little bit longer.
For a little longer, because I couldn't see light at the end of the tunnel.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like, those situations are very real for people, for victims of abuse. Unfortunately, sometimes it takes a long time. Either financially you're not ready, you know, emotionally you're not ready. You have 3, 4, 5 kids, you know, you're not ready. you know, 1 kid. What am I gonna do with me and just my kid? Like, shit, you know. I mean, also I think it's important to surround yourself with a good support system too.
Yes. I didn't have
and
that.
it doesn't have to be family.
No, and I was going to say that I didn't have friends.
Yeah. And narcissists will pull you away from all your friendships. It happened to me.
And let me tell you,
and I let it happen. So, you know, and I was aware that it was happening because my friends would, I don't see you. I haven't talked to you in however long, a year sometimes. It's like, damn, it's really been a year. But I thought I was doing the right thing for my children. There's little things that I was aware of, but that I, like you said, kind of stayed in because I just wasn't ready to make that move until I was.
Right.
Until I was. And let me tell you something. The universe came and rocked my whole world. And it was like, okay, decide now.
That happened to me.
You're going to decide today, right now. And
that's
when I was like, too. Okay. I didn't know what I was going to do or how I was going to do it, but I knew that I needed to make that decision right then.
Oh my God.
And people have to remember too that it's just not physical abuse.
No.
There's emotional, there's mental. Yep. And all of those are very powerful things that just affect your being.
Yes. Yes, most definitely. Okay, so switching gears a little bit, slightly, because right now we're talking about things, you know, that are done to us and how men, you know, manipulate us.
Which I will say, ladies out there, look at the actions and not the words.
Oh yeah,
because they will tell you this, but the actions will never lie.
Yep. They'll never match.
They'll never.
When they're lying.
They don't match.
They not. If the actions are telling you something else, listen to the actions, not the damn words.
Yeah, and listen to your gut, man. We have spidey senses, women. God.
But on the flip side to that, when to take responsibility for your actions in the relationship, for what you're doing, and
what you're
always
accepting.
trying to see yourself as a victim, like being in that victimhood mentality. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Oh, okay.
Well,
Nobody's taking responsibility.
No, I didn't know who was gonna go. So
You go, Joe. You go.
That's the one thing that I did learn after, you know, my separation and stuff, was owning up to my end of what happened. My faults in that was that I was too lenient. I trusted him way too much. And then when it started becoming a pattern, there was too much forgiveness. So as soon as he did it the third time, it just became a joke. It's like, she forgave me 3 times, I can do it
Whenever
five or 6 more times, and she's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
And I own that. And sadly, when he finally passed away, you know, that's when he saw me for the woman that I am. And that was probably the hardest thing for me to swallow and process, was that all that love and loyalty and everything I put up with, he saw it on his last days.
Too late.
Way too late. And that was probably the hardest thing for me to digest, because I fought so hard for our marriage. But keyword, I fought.
Yeah.
He did not.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what, though, it's probably harder for him in those moments to realize what he had, because now he had no time to make it better. He had no time to make amends. He had, you know what I mean? Like, that was it. Yeah. Gosh, that has to be hard.
Gosh, I think when it comes to that, I feel like a broken record, but it's know thyself. Like, you have to know yourself. If you don't know you, and you're not doing the daily work of getting to know yourself, of understanding your limits, of understanding what you want, how can you possibly take responsibility for your part of the failed relationship? That's how you stay in the victim mentality, because poor me, you know. But if you decide to take accountability, and it happened to me, I was being aware, taking ownership of my decisions, and okay, how can we make this better? How can this? How can that? But then it turned into, I feel, manipulation. Then it was all about, yeah, there's something for you to fix, and then I'm wrong, and then, you know, oh, you've asked me to change X, Y, Z, but you're still the same from 3 years ago. I'm like, I don't think so. But
well, they use your change and they use it against you to benefit them, because whether you like to see it or not, they're breaking you down, because you're trying to make yourself better instead of, but sometimes people can't handle when someone's making themselves better, because at the end of the day, they're not judge and jury. Okay. I'm sorry, but the only person that can judge me is God. And I'm going to give you what I can give you, and when I can give you what I can give you, period, and point blank. But the one thing with, like, what you were saying, that was something that my ex used to say to me. Oh, you go to church, you go to this. But let me tell you something. When you rub me the wrong way, I'm going to go tell you to fucking go pound sand, period, point blank.
yeah, of course.
Because we all see, we're not always perfect. Just because we're working on ourselves doesn't mean that we can't fail. You know? And I think sometimes we hear someone saying, oh, but you're Christian, but oh, you're this, you're that, and people are passing judgment, instead of us going like, so what? Say what you want about me. I know who I am as a woman, who I am as a mother. I know who I am as a daughter. I know who I am as a sister. And if you don't agree with any of it, that's fine. That's on you.
Now, I will say this, switching gears a little bit. I've seen women that they'll go days without showering, that they won't change their clothes, That, like, what I'm trying to say is, and then they wonder why the husband, is not attracted
I was
to them.
confused.
No, hold on.
What road are we going down?
Yeah. No, hold on. I'm talking about taking responsibility on your side of the relationship,
Yeah.
or the ones that are constantly nagging. The husband is just coming in through the door. Oh my God, I can't believe you. It's always this. I mean, it does.
I mean, no, there's actual situations.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying
no,
is,
I'm not
but
taking
you
away from
have
your
to,
situation.
you have to take ownership of what you do. You have
Correct.
to, there's no way around. Like I just told you that I know I take ownership of what I did in my marriage was being okay with 1, 2, 3, and then just full blown. That's where I knew I screwed up.
Yeah.
Because then it was okay. And then he was tearing me down as a woman because I thought I wasn't worthy as a wife.
Yeah.
And that took a lot away from me. And it took a long time for me to get to the point that I was confident in who I was as a woman. I knew my self-worth. I knew what I deserved, So
did it take you coming out of that relationship to see that, or did you see that towards the end, or in the relationship?
When I met him, I was super confident in myself. And even with all my childhood trauma and all that stuff, I was very confident in who I was. I just knew myself as a woman, as young as I was. Even with a child, I knew that my sacrifices I made to raise that little boy by myself and, with some help from my family and all that. So, I mean, I wasn't perfect, but then eventually I started seeing things like with my mom and the things she was accepting and not accepting. And then I started seeing everybody around me and I'm like, I don't want to be like any of them. I'm serious. Like
Yes.
who wants to be in a toxic situation all the time?
Yeah.
So then when I got married, that was my goal, was in my marriage. First of all, I didn't want to get married. He was the one that insisted. I did not want to get married. And because I saw what my family went through with marriages. So after that, it was like little by little, the walls, it's when everything started tearing down for me, because then that's when the insecurities come in, when he's cheating on you with a 250-pound woman, and you're this tiny, petite little person, and you're much younger than him, and that's what you're going for. Then I start questioning, who am I? I'm always working out, always taking care of myself. I bust my ass at work. I take care of the kids. I take care of the house. What am I doing? So it took a long time after that situation happened, and a lot of therapy and finding myself and reading self-help books and going to the gym and taking care of myself, and then coming to Georgia, moving completely out of my home, my hometown, my family, and just being somewhere that only my sister knew me was a huge step for me. And it helped me learn even more of who I was as a person, that I did have that strength to walk away and do what I needed to do. So that's just me.
I think going back to what you were saying though about how women kind of let themselves go and then their men stray instead of, that's I think a twofold or a two-way blame, whatever you want to call it. Her, because she's obviously letting herself go because she doesn't feel confident in herself, and why is she feeling like that? Probably because her husband is not making her feel that way. So, and then he probably doesn't feel that way about himself. So how can he then in turn go and feel that way about her or try to build her up or whatever? And it could be a gazillion number of reasons, right? Like now we have kids, we have financial responsibilities, and finances is always a huge fucking stressor on a marriage. And so are children, unfortunately, as blessed as we are to have them, they're a pain in the ass.
Can I make a pause?
Yeah.
Having a kid is not going to solve your issues in your marriage.
Amen.
So anyway, I think that all those stressors and stuff, it actually affects both male and female. But when the man or the woman, and in this case, because we're women, I'm going to pick on the women here. When we sit here and we lay and we waddle in the victimhood, in like, oh my God, he does this to me and he does that. Okay, well, what have you done? What have you done to not nag at him, not say, not come up to him and say, look, this is all the things that you're doing wrong. You did to me, but rather, okay, I noticed this. So what is it that is missing between you and I?
Mm-hmm.
What am I not providing for you that now you're treating me like this, that you're doing this to me? Okay, oh, it doesn't have anything to do with you. Bullshit. Yes, it does, because you're doing it to me. Mm-hmm. And if I am being your punching bag, then we need to discuss this, because I'm not anybody's punching bag. We're here to support each other. It's a two-way street, is what I'm trying to say. So when women don't take the responsibility and they're always like, well, you know, I'm so successful and I do everything right in every facet of my life except for my marriage. I mean, are you really that successful then? Obviously not. Maybe you have a lot of yes people in your life. Maybe you have people that are blowing smoke up your ass and telling you how great
fantastic
job and
you are.
Yeah, exactly. But yet the person that is actually living life with you obviously doesn't think you're that fantastic, because he's treating you a certain way or she's treating you a certain way. Again, I'm picking on the women right now. So have you taken a look in the mirror to see how are you treating him? How are you uplifting him?
How do you see yourself? Because that's how you're allowing somebody else to treat you and see you as well.
And that was what I was going to get to. And that is the bottom line, is how you look at yourself. It doesn't matter if all the people in your life, to include your husband, look at you a certain way. You're never going to believe it, because the beliefs that you have about yourself, the stories that you tell yourself, like we were telling our young listener here, the stories that you tell yourself are what you believe. Those are your belief systems.
And those are your insecurities.
Exactly. So that is what you have to work on in order for you to be in a healthy relationship. And this is why I was telling our first listener, get to know yourself very, very well. And let me tell you something. There are going to be a lot of nights when you're going to cry yourself to sleep, because you're like, am I that really fucked up? Or, you know, unlovable? Like, all the things, let them come to the surface and deal with them. Why do I feel this way about myself? What is it that, you know, what trauma led to this? We all have triggers. We all have traumas. You do have to take responsibility, is my point, and look in the mirror, because the things that are happening to you are not happening to you. They're happening for you. They are all learning experiences, and it's all about you learning yourself and learning how to be the best version of yourself.
And learning to communicate.
Yes.
To using your words. It's not about you. It's about we. When you're in a relationship. And I think in a lot of relationships, we forget how to incorporate we, because it affects us both. It doesn't affect just one person.
Right. You actually touched on the next topic, but we're going to move on. So, because
I couldn't look at the phone.
No, I think both of them, it was how to communicate with your significant other, how to communicate your needs to your significant other. But now I kind of want to switch gears a little bit and take this moment for our what the fuck moment.
Come on, Linda.
So today's what the fuck moment is brought to you by TikTok. No, I watched this video. Well, this live. That's really why it's a what the fuck moment for me. I don't know about you guys, but I've never seen this before. And quite frankly, I freaked out for a little bit because I took a screenshot and I'm like, anywho, so just to give
she said they're gonna come find me. I'm like, who's gonna come find me?
So
maybe
I noticed I ran into a live TikTok of a jail cell. So there were just 3 inmates in a jail cell, and they were just talking to their listeners. Oh, thank you for sending me the roses, and because they're getting money, right? They're sending all these things to them, and they're getting money. And I'm here looking like, I'm zooming in. I'm trying to look. I'm like, is this like a montage, or is it really? No, they were in jail in a live TikTok making money
on their books.
Crazy.
On their books.
And they had like over 1,000 viewers, live viewers, talking, interacting with them. So then I'm like, the girls are not going to believe me. Click, take a screenshot. And then you can see the faces of them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what did they know? And they can find me through my IP address. Is it IP called? IP address. And then they know where I'm at. They come and find me because now I'm exposing the...
Yeah.
Now I'm exposing the jail man. Isn't that crazy?
That is wild. That is wild.
Somebody in jail is probably making more money than I am.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
True story.
How is that even allowed? That's really where my mind goes to. Like how, like they could be sending messages, to people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't think it's allowed. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think.
There's,
But you will think that they will.
But the fact that they're having this live, and the COs could probably be watching TikTok, and all of a sudden they see, hey, these are the guys in that jail cell.
can you imagine?
Oh my God. I mean, and let's not forget that they get paid as well. The COs get paid. Like, let's be real, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants.
So, listen, I'm pretty sure everybody in that floor knows they're doing that TikTok. They're all getting.
They're all
getting their own little cut from the
cut. Yeah, they're all getting
from
a
the
cut.
live.
Oh
That's
God.
insane.
That is so
That
crazy.
is insane.
Yep, great what the fuck moment. That was a what the fuck moment. The next subtopic I have, I think we kind of touched on it already. Setting and keeping boundaries. We kind of said, they gotta set your boundaries and then keep them.
Well, actually, I'll go ahead and I'll touch on that a little bit because that's something that I learned after my separation. Talking about our mistakes in the relationship, right?
Yeah.
I actually had a friend that would tell me, "Lo tienes mal acostumbrado." Like, how do you say it in English?
Yeah. No.
In English, how do I say it in English?
You
have
have-
him.
Oh God.
I know, mal acostumbrado. Like
you have him used to a bad way. You already have him
Pretty much spoiled.
spoiled.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
you
spoiled.
have him spoiled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Because it had certain boundaries about financial needs or things like that, but how I wanted to be treated, right? Like the whole thing of, like you were saying, like your ex was a narcissist, but it would piss him off because you wouldn't let him, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I learned is I let him way too much and walk all over me. But if I would have loved myself more than the relationship, more than the possibility of the breakup, then I would have set my boundaries of this is how I want to be treated. I think as women, we forget that we set the pace. We set the pace. I never forget my dad telling me, like, listen, when you have a boyfriend, you're the one that's going to decide how far is he going to go with you.
Mm-hmm.
How's he going to treat you?
Yeah. Well, he meant more sexually, like if he's just gonna go to first base, second base, third base, a man.
Damn, my head went with you.
It's the same concept, the same principle. A man is gonna go as far as you allow them to go,
Mm-hmm.
and they're gonna race to the bar that you want them to race, that you want them to go to. If those boundaries and those limitations and those expectations are not set, there's not even silver lining because the line doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. But that's why you have to be the one to set your own boundaries and then to keep them. Because you could say, I want you to treat me this way. I expect yada, 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 right? But then
when they don't,
you allow, I'm not going to lie. You just said right now that it took number 3 for him to be like, oh, I can do this. Number 1 should have been it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like that should have been it. That should have been the boundary right there. Like, no, you crossed the fucking line.
One more time.
Yeah. One too many times
already.
Right? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. If you don't keep your boundaries though, and like you said, if you don't love yourself enough to put yourself first before, I think this is kind of a sidebar here, but as women, especially Hispanic women, Latino women, we're not raised to put ourselves first. Mm-mm. We are not raised to put ourselves first. So we put our husbands first. Everything's about the man. Everything's about our children, about your mothers, about your fathers, about your grandparents, about everybody else except for you. Mm-hmm. But how in the fuck can we give from an empty bowl, pour from an empty cup? Like, how can we do that? We can't. Mm-hmm. It's impossible. Mm-hmm. We're running on fumes, and then you still want to keep going another 50 miles. You're not going to be able to do it. So it's the same concept here. Mm-hmm. If I let you do this to me, then of course it's giving you the green light. Mm-hmm. How you treat yourself and how you don't set those boundaries and don't keep the boundaries.
That's
the hard part.
I was going to say that's the key point right there, because I feel like because I'm here thinking, going back through the years, I feel like mentally, because I'll be honest, I didn't communicate. I was really owning my mistakes. I was horrible at communicating on my marriage. But I have mental boundaries, but I never make sure
that he knew about them.
That he knew and that he kept them.
Yeah.
Because here's two things. One, as women, we have to take ownership on our boundary, and also expressing and telling our man, if you're my man, you're supposed to be taking care of me and protecting me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that means that you're gonna protect my boundaries because you're saying you love me, right? So then love my boundaries too, because they come with me. But keeping everybody in line.
Yeah. But I like what you said. We set the pace.
Mm-hmm.
We set the pace for our lives. And a real man is not going to try to break those boundaries down and try to break you down,
Mm-hmm.
as a person. A real man will respect those boundaries and will uplift you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't keep your own boundaries, he will come and he'll say, you know what? You once told me yada yada yada,
Mm-hmm.
and I fucked up, and you're just, oh, it's okay, babe, or
Mm-hmm.
oh, I love you, you're falling for my bullshit. That's what a real man will do.
True.
He will put himself in the fire. He'll throw himself in the fire, and he'll be like, listen, I'm messing up. I'm not living up to my own potential. Okay, so I'm going to say something, and then I want your thoughts on this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sometimes we must realize that it's our own energy that makes the relationship shine.
Yes.
She said yes.
Listen.
I'm not ignoring the question. I'm finding my words of wisdom.
I'm laughing because what do I want to say here without?
Well, okay. While you gather your thoughts, I must
Mhm.
say we had a conversation, you and I,
But that's
about this.
That's what I was getting to. I'm glad that you're saying that. Good. I don't have to say it.
And it was about situationship I was in.
Mm-hmm.
And I kept saying things to you girls about this person and saying how great he was and all this stuff. And then,
and how he made you laugh.
Yes, and how he made me laugh and everything.
Oh,
and
I know this situation.
Everybody was like, what? Like, he made you laugh? Like,
are you sure?
And he actually did, though. I mean, he actually did. But she regurgitated something that I had sent to her.
Yes.
A while back.
Yes.
And so she said, well, remember when you sent me, and the gist of the reel or what on Instagram that I had sent. So sometimes we just have to understand that it's not necessarily these men or these relationships that we put up on a pedestal, right? Like it's us. It's the energy that we're giving to the relationship, to the job, to the, friendship, whatever it is. And then when we pull away, when you take, a 30,000 foot view of the whole situation, then you can kind of see like, whoa, wait a minute. If I put myself out of this and you see the true colors, you see exactly who this person is, it's like, it's not that great,
That's where I like to live, looking down, looking at everything.
Everything, yeah. Yeah, she is an observer. She's totally an observer, yeah. That is wild. Anyway.
So I actually, following that up, I saw a comment that said that when we do that, we're actually stepping into our masculine, because what's happening is men by nature are providers, and women by nature are multipliers. Yeah. So men are the ones that are supposed to bring the energy, and we're supposed to multiply it.
Right.
So when we're the ones supplying the energy to their relationship and creating the good times it's like we're in our masculine, because that's not our job. Our job is to multiply.
Yeah.
Like we're always going to make it better. You know what I'm saying? So we're always going to bring this greatness, but it's not our job to make our greatness the center of the relationship. It's supposed to be the man that brings the energy, and for us to multiply.
We're infectious, by the way.
That's what we all laugh at the same time.
Everyone loves us.
We're infectious and contagious in a good way.
We'll suck you in a good way.
In a good way.
Wait, what are we sucking?
I knew that was coming.
It just sounded good at the moment.
That's so what you said.
Okay, Miss Joanna, knock it out with the words of wisdom. Our wow, we call it a wow now.
Our
wow.
Words of wisdom, yeah.
Being negative only makes a difficult journey more difficult. You may be given a cactus, but you don't have to sit on it. Joyce Myers.
Oh.
I know y'all gonna be surprised when I said that, especially after us talking about sucking right now. Don't worry, we won't hashtag that one.
Oh man! Don't sit on the thorns.
Mm-mm. Watch where you put your butt.
Ten cuidado. Ten cuidado.
But I think it ties into what we were saying earlier, like our thoughts, create our reality. So if you're wallowing in that negative space, that's what the universe is going to show you in your reality that, yeah, hey, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Because I used to tell my daughters this all the time, whether you're happy, unhappy, whether it's good energy or bad energy, positive, negative, whatever it is that you think, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. You think you can do it, you're right. If you think you can't do it, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Our thoughts become our reality, and we will always find evidence to prove whatever it is that we're thinking every time.
With that said, reminded me of something I wanted to say earlier. We're women talking about our women perspective. I'm not going to talk for men, right? So that's why as women, when we're in maybe in an undesirable relationship or we're in a rough spot in a relationship, if you're just standing there waiting for your person to fuck up again, that's the energy that you're putting out there. That's you're waiting for the next mistake. And trust me, you're going to find it.
Yep.
That piggybacking off that real quick, stop nitpicking your partner.
Mm-hmm.
If there's issues that bother you, have a discussion with that person. If they break down the way you're feeling at that moment, then they're not your person.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point you have to realize that that's going to be a topic on another episode though. So we're not going to get deep into this, but at some point you do have to realize when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah.
With that said,
I was just that.
Love it.
Go ahead.
Thank you for listening. This is Chats con Sabor. Until next time.
Adios.
Bye.
Adios, amigos.